You know, if you've ever wanted to understand what makes a sake truly great, I mean, beyond just the basic flavor, well, you are in exactly the right place. In this explainer, we are unlocking two of the most important aspects of any great sake: its texture and its finish.
So, let me just ask you this. You know that feeling when you take a sip of one sake and think, wow, that is just so silky smooth, but then the next one feels way richer, almost heavier on your tongue? And let me tell you, that is not just in your head. There are very real reasons for that difference, and we're about to get into exactly what they are.
Okay, so let's dive right in. The first big idea we need to tackle is texture. But honestly, there's a much better word for it, one that the pros use that just makes a ton of sense: mouthfeel.
Mouthfeel is, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's the literal physical sensation of the liquid in your mouth. It's the perfect word to describe how that sake physically interacts with your entire palate, from your tongue to your cheeks. It's what the real experts are talking about.
Now, a huge part of that mouthfeel comes down to something called body, which is really just a fancy way of talking about the perceived weight of the sake. It's a pretty simple spectrum, right? On one end, you have a light body, feels almost airy, and on the other, you've got a fuller body that just feels richer, more substantial. So what actually creates that fuller body, that richer feeling? Well, it all boils down to viscosity, and a whole bunch of things contribute to it: the alcohol level, umami, any leftover sugar, amino acids, and a really big one we're about to get to, the minerals and water. Basically, the more complex and savory a sake is, the more viscosity it's likely to have.
Now, all those things we just listed, they're definitely important, but there is one that stands above all the rest. We're about to pull back the curtain on the hidden force that literally shapes the sake in your glass. And believe it or not, it has everything to do with geology.
And here it is. Yep, the single biggest, most important influence on a sake's texture is water. It's kind of crazy to think about, right? It makes up over 80% of what's in the bottle, yet it is the absolute foundation of its mouthfeel. If you take just one thing away from this whole explainer, let it be this. And this chart just lays it out perfectly. Look over on the left. You've got hard water, like the famous Miyamizu from Nara. It's packed with minerals, which actually supercharges the fermentation. And what do you get? A drier, more structured sake. Now, look to the right. Soft water, like Fushimizu from Kyoto, super low in minerals. And the result? A sake that feels, well, softer. It's silkier, smoother, and often tastes a little sweeter. It is a direct line from the minerals in the ground to the feeling in your mouth. Okay, so we've totally nailed down what the sake feels like while it's in your mouth. But what about the moment after you swallow? Now we're going to talk about decoding the finish, that lingering impression, that little story the sake leaves behind. The Japanese have this perfect word for it: fukumeka. It literally means after aroma. And this is so cool. It's not just about the taste that's left on your tongue. It's about the aromas that actually travel from your palate back up into your nose after you've swallowed. It's a massive part of the whole experience. So that leads to the obvious question, right? How long does that story, that fukamika, actually stick around? Is it a quick little goodbye, or does it hang around for a nice, long conversation? The length of the finish is a really big deal. And the answer is actually super simple, and it's directly connected to the alcohol content. A sake with a higher ABV will almost always have a longer, more lingering finish. It just makes sense, right? That alcohol helps carry all those beautiful flavors and aromas along for the ride, while a lower ABV sake will usually finish up a lot cleaner and quicker. Okay, so this is all really interesting stuff, but here's the big so what. Why does any of this actually matter in the real world? Well, this is where the rubber meets the road: pairing your sake with food. So here it is, the one simple rule you need to remember. If you're eating something big and rich and savory, you need a sake that can stand up for itself. And that means you want a sake with a longer finish. It's not going to get bulldozed by the food, it's going to hang around and complement every single bite. It's a game changer for your dining experience. And check this out, here's a little insider tip from the expert Genya Nozawa. He says, don't be afraid of a little bit of bitterness in the finish. Why? Because that bitterness is the perfect thing to cut through and balance out all that rich, savory flavor from your food. That is a next-level pairing trick right there. So from now on, when you pour a glass of sake, don't just taste it. I want you to really feel it. Pay attention. What's its weight? What's the texture? And what's the story it leaves behind? Can you tell if it's silky and soft, maybe from the waters of Kyoto? Or is it structured and dry, from a place like Nara?
You have the tools now, so the only question left is, what story will your next glass of sake tell?